Welcome back, folks and friends. Connecting Dots here. Today's date is Sunday, November 22nd. Okay, so if you haven't seen this video here, it's up on the screen right now, Fukushima Day 1321. Basically, I'll share with you my personal experiences here as I try to shop around. I haven't even purchased yet. I'm just shopping around for a price for a gamma spectrometer. Okay, and I share with you how the nuclear industry has admitted that they've red flagged my email address. Well, I'm going to share with you here another personal experience as I try to set up a team. And the reason why is, if you haven't seen my Fukushima Day 1205, again, it's up on the screen. I talk about how the Food and Drug Administration lied about its testing of the safety of the fish in Alaska earlier this summer. And unfortunately, that was propagated on the news everywhere that it was safe. That video shows they didn't do proper testing. And again, the halibut, watch out. This all ties in. Unbelievable. I'm so glad I followed my personal instincts and decided to do a little research on this. You won't believe how the dots all connected on this one. Okay, so, and again, and the reason why I want to test this seafood is because just recently here, just a week ago, I showed how in August 2014, Woods Hole Institute went across the west coast here along Northern California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, all the way to Alaska. They took 50 water samples. They analyzed the first 20. 10 of them have come out positive for Fukushima radiation. And yes, I said that the ocean will dilute radiation, so we'll never have high levels. This is what your news will always tell you as we move forward in the future. But the seafood bioaccumulates, and specific species, which is what I was mentioning in Fukushima Day 1205, the Food and Drug Administration purposely tested all the wrong fish. They tested the halibut and other bottom dwellers. So basically, because I live on Vancouver Island, I've mentioned before here, right in the city of Victoria, right on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada. I live in Victoria, and there's this massive ebb and flow tide known around the world here for the amount of water flushes in and out. You may have heard it on the Jeff Wrench show on Beautiful Girl by Dana. That's the YouTuber who's saying that the Pacific Ocean is dead. Well, no, actually now it's dying. Well, he says there's only 1% of the 1% left, but that doesn't make sense, as if 99.9% of the sea life would die, and it's only a guy in a scooter and a wheelchair who would notice it. So we know there's a scam. Jeff Rentz is behind it. But what's interesting is that now that we know that there's a lot of water that does come in and out here, I don't have to argue that point, I think it's important that we do proper testing. Someone needs to raise the alarm if something goes off. So basically what I've tried to do, I started two things here on my island, and this is one of the ads. And one of the ads, what I'm doing here is because there's a large fish eating community, I figured, well, since I've been doing the Fukushima Day since day one, and the latest results shows here that there's radiation off our coast, then it only makes sense that I should set up these information evenings across Vancouver Island, and I was looking for volunteers to help me set up these information nights. So basically, I'm going to share with you a reply. Yes, I'm going to hide the person's email address, but you'll find out how it all connects here, and I'm glad I follow that instinct. Boy, oh boy, talk about connecting dots on this one. So this person replied to my ad, and he says, I've tested seafood in both BC and Alaska for radiation this year. The results are so close to zero that you cannot see the chart. Wow. In fact, we found that a banana contains 1,000 times more radiation than the species of fish tested. Wow. Okay. He says, I'm not an expert in radiation, but this seems like hype to me. You'll probably find it interesting that the tiny bit of radiation that we did find was found around Amchitka, which is where the U.S. government conducted nuclear testing. So, for a guy who doesn't know a lot about radiation, he seems to know where the U.S. government conducted its testing, and he's ended up traveling all around BC, well, at least he says in BC, not necessarily all around, but all the way up to Alaska for radiation. So for a guy who's not an expert, boy, he sure does seem to know an awful lot in that specific department. Well, it didn't take very long. I did a little research on the guy and connected some dots here on who this person is, and it all became very apparent. And then I'm glad, I never want to publish my picture, not because I do anything bad, but rather when you're coming out and you're pointing out who some of these criminals are, there's no doubt about it, because I have a past. I know some of the organized crime, how they operate. It's in my favor to just keep stay anonymous and keep pointing out who some of the criminals are and how they all connect. So Mr. Jonathan here is a field biologist at the International Pacific Halibut Commission. That's right, right here in British Columbia, Canada. That's right, on Vancouver Island. So he also works at H&R Block and Cabazon Consulting. Interesting. Okay, so as I'd mentioned here in that Fukushima Day 1205, it's all about the species of fish. So it's interesting that Mr. Jonathan here is connected with the Pacific Halibut Commission, and he's telling me not to worry about it. Yeah, because it's close to banana radiation. So Cabazon here, oddly enough, is a consulting is a dynamic organization that includes individuals with expertise in fisheries and aquatic resources, fisheries observer programs, at sea research surveys, marine consulting, economics, electrical engineering, project management, and accounting. That's right, accounting, because you won't believe how far this goes, financial management and everything else. So as I mentioned here, they're located right here in Victoria, BC. That's why he replied to my email, because he knows that I'm here in BC on Vancouver Island trying to connect some people together so we can bring out some truth. So Cabazon Consulting, you would not believe, folks. Yeah. So Industry Canada here, they talk about this company, located here on Dunsmuir Road. I'm like, no way. When I first moved here to the British Columbia, Vancouver, should say Victoria, British Columbia, I lived right on Dunsmuir Road, so I know the road very, very well. And International Pacific Halibut Commission is now sending out its troops to come and tell us, don't worry about it. So yeah, I could see about it, because I could see why they're concerned here, because the information sessions are going to deal specifically with the natives here, because I want to go after populations that eat the most amount of salmon and the other species that I'm concerned about. So there's no doubt about it that they're already putting their people here in an intervention. Okay, so I did a little bit of research, and I can't prove to you that these are all connected, but as I go check out these companies here, the management consulting, right, and I don't know, Health and Human Services, Department of Homeland Security. Again, I can't prove that it's part of the same group, but I just find it odd here how we have this group that's, they're all in part of this economics and project management and accounting. Fact is, we know there's a problem here when there's a company from Victoria who's sending out its troops, and a field biologist telling you all not to worry about it, that, yeah, he hasn't found anything. So you want to see my reply? So basically I just asked him, so you've published your results somewhere online? Because I'd like to see them. And then I went on to mention, the fact that they tested 7 salmon here in Alaska in January 2014, and 2 out of the 7 fish tested, or they tested positive for Fukushima radiation. Went on to tell them how all 15 bluefin tuna tested 10 times more radioactive after only spending 5 months in the Pacific Ocean after the Fukushima meltdown. So yeah, I'd love to see what he has to say, and or should say his results. And yeah, I make it very clear that bananas is nothing similar to strontium-90 or hot radioactive particles. Okay, folks, and as I mentioned before, strontium-90 is my biggest concern. If you haven't watched that video, I strongly suggest you take a couple of minutes out right now. It's flashing up on the top of the screen, and check it out. There's a reason why here they're not doing proper testing, and it's only by having someone doing independent testing right here on Vancouver Island will you know that the proper testing's being done. Oh, by the way, you want to know where that Amchitka is? Hold on a second here. See if we can get directions out there. Here we go. Yeah. So now you can see why I didn't believe that he was just a typical person with, somehow had a connection to some type of device where he could do his testing. So when he came back and he told me that this was where he found the, these tiny bit, according to him, a tiny bit of radiation. Yeah, because he had the funds to go all the way out there and check it. Boy, oh boy, unbelievable. These people just won't stop. More BS from the nuclear industry. Take care, folks.